Hello guys and girls listening to this is Rihapega, and these are my dogs with an announcement for you.
Make a comment for a chance to win a gift card. Also, please subscribe, share and give this video a thumbs up, it really helps.
That being said, let's start with some posts from r/EntitledParents. Let me preface this by saying this happened a very long time ago, and while I could come to a reasonable approximation of the dialogue that surrounded this, I won't bother. I don't recall everything that was said, just some of the circumstances. Okay, first off, I am a model railroader. Specifically, I model in 0 scale. For reference, that means that the average locomotive is about 3 to 4 inches tall and up to a foot long, depending on type that is. One summer, I was taking part in a model railroad fair at our local mall where I was displaying some of my models. Being that I am from the US, the fact that I model the British Isles, GWR for you Brit readers, meant that my display really stood out. Now, as there is always kids at this type of shows, I had taken to putting a plexiglass side around my layout to prevent children from reaching in and touching things, or damaging various parts of the structures and models that went with the railroad. While I was watching one locomotive I had just received leave the staging area, it's a small 3-track system that lets me funnel trains into the layout and then out as needed. I remember this one lady making comments about the cute little trains. Getting that train running at a nice but slow pace, I approached her and smiled, asking if there is any questions she had. The lady never missed a bit, pointing to the train I had just started and told me that her son liked trains and I should sell her one for him. Now, truth be known, this wasn't an uncommon thing to have happen. People, usually other modelers, may ask if some units are for sale. Sometimes they are, but typically not. I explained to her that the locomotive wasn't for sale and that even if it was, she wouldn't have liked the price anyway, noting that the engine she was pointing to had cost me close to $1,000. The lady was having none of it and offered me $10 for it since it was obviously a toy. I ignored her and went back to getting the next train set up on the staging track, waiting for that one to return. As I do this, I hear an odd sound and look up just in time to see the lady picking the locomotive up off the track and moving to hand it to her kid. I called out for her to stop, which may have been a mistake as she promptly dropped it on the ground. The engine, though somewhat robust and heavy, was made of rather soft brass. When it hit the ground, there was a sickening crunch. I knew from the sound that the engine was done for, broken beyond repair. The lady just looked down at it, shrugged and kicked it back under the table before starting to walk off. Thankfully, security quickly caught up with her and detained her, while police were called. All the while she kept saying,
"It's just a toy. Men don't play with toys."
While ignoring the fact she was surrounded by dozens of train layouts with just as many grown men showing off their work. Police arrested her on destruction of private property charges, while the mall itself barred her from ever setting foot on their property again. Later, with her information on hand from the police report, I filed a case against her for the replacement of the locomotive. You won't believe it, but she had the gall to try to convince the judge that it was just a toy, and the receipts I had for purchase of the locomotive weren't real, saying she had seen the exact same locomotive at Walmart herself. Well, the case ended up in my favor, with her having to pay me replacement costs, as well as some punitive damages. The judge ended the case with the simple warning that
just because you want something doesn't give you the right to simply take it.
From the criminal side of things, I think the lady ended up with 40 or so hours of community service and a substantial fine as well. Here is hoping she learned her lesson. I have a service dog for PTSD. He's a 2-year-old German Shepherd called Zach. He's been professionally trained and is never out without his vest on. One day I was out for a walk with him and we passed this entitled mother and her child. The child, around 6 years old, got ecstatic when she saw Zach and was bouncing around saying that she wanted to pet him. I kindly said that he was working and petting him could distract him and set off to walk again. But the entitled mother said that her daughter wanted to pet the dog so she would. I tightened my grip on Zach's list just so I wouldn't drop it just in case of an episode, but either way he could tell I was getting anxious. The entitled mother went up to me and grabbed his leash, yanking him backwards and calling her daughter up to pet him. Before I could fully react, her daughter came up and pulled on his tail before smacking him on the back and yelling,
"Doggy, doggy."
He yelped, snapped around to face her and fell down to the floor, which made me think that he was in pain. Before I could say that she had hurt my dog, the mother shouted at me for having an aggressive dog and that he beat her daughter. She wouldn't let go of his leash and I'm not the strongest person, so I couldn't get him back. Luckily, the kid started crying and she took her hands off his leash. Despite thinking he was in pain, I set off running and was glad to find an area where I could calm down and check his hips. Luckily for the mother, he was fine but just a little shocked. I was sadly in a worse state, and seeing as this was my first confrontation, the scariest one for any service dog handler, we had to perform DPT, deep pressure therapy. I was a little nervous after getting home too. Alright, so I've been watching a whole lot of Reddit videos and I just stumbled upon Entitled Parents. I decided I will make this account just for the purpose of sharing my experience, since I have been pretty pissed about it since it happened. This is technically more like Entitled Parents friends, but they are parents as well, and if this is how they are treating babysitters, they deserve to be on here. I babysit for one family in particular pretty regularly. Their kid is young, I think about 4, and he's usually pretty good for me aside from being a little whiny. Let's call him Emmett. Emmett's dad usually has him, and I pretty much always babysit over at his dad's house. But one afternoon, Emmett's mom asked me if I can babysit the next day for what I think was around 12 hours-ish. I don't have any set times since M's dad works late hours, so I say sure and move on with my life. The next day, Emmett is fine for me. His mom has friends over who demand I take the picture. A little rude, but I don't think about it and they leave soon. Emmett and I play outside for a bit. I feed him the pizza his mom said was for dinner. We don't make a mess or generally get anything out that we don't put away, etc. That's when shit hits the fan. Emmett's mom gets home at around 12 AM maybe, and she's definitely drunker than shit. She apologizes for being later than she thought and hands me an extra 40 plus the money I was originally promised. I even tried refusing the extra money since she was drunk, but she insisted. She brought her friends in with her, and as soon as she goes to bed, they tear into me. They go around pointing out my mistakes, interrogating me.
What did you guys do? Did you even hang out with him at all? Did you even talk to him? This place is a mess. You always leave a house cleaner than when you got there.
No bitch, I'm being paid to make sure this kid doesn't run out into the street while you are out drinking. Both Emmett's mom and dad have stated that I don't need to clean, and the house was literally a mess before I got there. Aside from the extra $40 that was a surprise, I was getting paid to babysit and babysit only.
You fed him pizza, he's 4. He can't eat pizza. Why would you feed him pizza?
Do I even need to explain? As soon as Emmett's mom went to bed with him, they cornered me in the living room while I was waiting for an Uber, telling me that I should be grateful for what I earned and that I didn't deserve any of it because I was a terrible babysitter and should know better by now. I am a really soft-willed person, so all I could muster at the time was an "I am grateful," and managed not to cry in front of them, which ended up with me crying in some old woman's car as she drove me home and offered me candy because I don't think she knew what else to do. Too long, didn't read. Kid I babysit's mom has shitty friends who don't know what babysitters do or how to behave around them. I no longer babysit at Emmett's mom's house. I refuse to, essentially. I texted her in the morning and told her why, but not much happened. Edit. Emmett's mom is relatively young, 25-ish, and still has a lot to learn. I'm not angry at her for not doing more than tell her friends that wasn't okay when she found out. She will figure out the important things in life soon enough. So, well, I hope you liked this video. I don't know if you guys noticed, but these are some of the old posts I had made and decided just to remake them with the new night mode format, and yeah. So yeah, I guess bye.